Welcome to the MSDW Podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at msdynamicsworld.com. My guest on this episode is Pablo Peralta. Pablo is a serial entrepreneur and Microsoft MVP who has built different kinds of businesses over the years. He's co-founded a consulting firm. He has been an ISV, and now he runs a rapidly growing online community for the Spanish language Dynamics CRM and 365 users and professionals called Comunidad 365. Pablo tells us how he got his start with CRM, what it's been like to build Comunidad 365 from nothing into a thriving online community it is today, and what's next for him and his businesses. Okay, Pablo Peralta, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Jason, for having me, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you, my friend.
Yeah, we've known each other for a few years now, and
Yes.
I was interested to have you join me here because I think you've had some really interesting experiences over the last few years with some of the range of initiatives and projects and companies and ideas you've pursued. So I wanted to maybe talk about that a little bit and sort of hear where you're going next after that. So yeah, let's maybe jump into it here.
Excellent, Jason. Excellent idea, and I'm happy to share experiences with you and your audience at the MS Dynamics World.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know you, and I'm guessing a lot of people in the Microsoft CRM space do, maybe you could just introduce yourself, say a little bit more about who you are and where you are and that kind of thing.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm started with Dynamic. My background is actually as a developer in the Microsoft field, and I started with Dynamics CRM since version 4. That was 2008, and then I became an MVP in 2010, and it has been working as a Microsoft MVP and in Dynamics since then. So it has been already 7 years as an MVP, and I define myself as an entrepreneur on the Dynamics field, and I started 2 companies. I built a couple of products, and I'm very happy to lead the community for all Spanish language people. As you can see, English is not my first language, so I apologize for that if I made any mistakes. But so I have been pretty actively in the community since 2011 that we started with the community in Spanish that today is Comunidad 365, and we are reaching more than 6,000 members nowadays. So it has become pretty huge, and I'm pretty happy to be leading that and be part of that foundation.
Yeah, that growth has been really impressive, and I definitely want to talk a little more about that. But before we do, maybe we could just talk a little bit more about your background and sort of how you got to this point, if you don't mind. So you said
Yeah,
you were a
sure.
developer and you've started some businesses. Can you talk a little bit more about what that path was like? You've done it all from I guess your home country of Uruguay, right? And you've worked there
Yeah.
consistently. You've started businesses there. It's not a place that maybe everybody knows a lot about in terms of what it's like to sort of work as in the Microsoft channel there or start businesses. Can you say a little bit more about some of the other businesses you've been involved in running that have led up to Comunidad
Yeah,
365?
absolutely, Jason. As I mentioned, my background was as a developer in the Microsoft field. I actually was one of the first ones in here in my country in Uruguay, which is in a small country between Brazil and Argentina in South America. I was from the first people who started to make some tries with the trial for .NET. So you can imagine
Oh
that
wow.
was early 2000s. And then I specialize in developing for C Sharp and all the .NET stuff, and then I started working for a very important partner here in Uruguay, and started traveling. So many customers, most on the banking and finance, and all traveling around, South America, Central America, Caribbean, and all of that stuff. And then I moved in a technology leader position, and after that, I realized that what a that was most a combination between leadership and a combination between technology. But what I love most is technology and solving technical challenges and solving actually business needs with technology. And from that that was in around 2008, and I realized that there was something that was called Dynamics CRM. So imagine in that moment I was mostly developing in .NET, and I was also making projects, integration projects with Microsoft Bstock, and on the other side I saw something that was Dynamics CRM, and it sounded for me, it started to sound me a lot, and I said, okay, I want to try it, and I wanted to, specialize in something, because it was at that time I started to, just surfacing a lot of technologies, but not getting deeply specialized as I was in the past in .NET. So I wanted to a challenge to specialize in one technology, and I heard about Dynamics CRM. I could speak with some friends at Microsoft, and they recommended me a lot because it was a platform that you can quickly solve business challenges, but at the same time, it was so well architecture that it will be very very nice to start developing stuff on top of that, and that was actually true. Maybe today you can have some differences on that thought, because it has been rapidly evolving, but at that time it was a really nice a really nice platform to put your hands on and try to specialize. And there was an actual niche for that, an actual opportunity, because nobody else, at least here, was looking at that technology. And I started very early in that, and started developing projects very 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 early. And then what I saw is the opportunity to build a partner, highly specialized just on that. That partner was Dynamics URIT. I call it that way because it was like spin-off. I make a partnership with other three people, and created a partner highly specialized for just Dynamics CRM. And then the next step was realizing the opportunity to start building some kind of add-ons to that. And what I actually realized, delivering a lot of trainings on Dynamics and implementing it in different customers, was how adoption, how real adoption was the key for almost all Dynamics CRM implementation projects. So adoption is the key, and I realized how tough it was for users, most on the sales side, to start getting enthusiasm on the solution for different reasons. There are so much literature on that I don't think I need to expand a lot more on that. But adoption is key. I realized that by making it a little more fun for people to adopt the solution, it changes almost everything, just for making it a little more bit of fun. And that's why I came with the solution of CRM Gamified. the gamification solution for Dynamics CRM, and that was the other my other entrepreneurship. And then when we realized that gamification has a lot of do as well with your environment and with motivation and with being in front of your key performance indicators all the time. We also realized that it was great to have that on TVs. And then the second product was Hurrah Leaderboards, that is the broadcasting, the TV broadcasting system for displaying information from your Dynamics and today from other systems as well, in TVs and in your contact centers and whatever. And that was my third my third entrepreneurships. While in parallel, I realized that in Latin America and Spain, we were actually the community was growing, but every one of us were doing our own efforts to get down and to help people. There wasn't a place where all the or most of the professionals can come together, join efforts, try to exchange information, exchange solutions, problems, and deliver courses and that kind of things. So that's why in parallel, and that was in 2012, I created Comunidad 365, first as a blog and a forum that today have more than 4,000 answers. But second, it quickly turned into more webinars like and courses and delivering courses. And today we have, I guess, around 200 courses uploaded to our website. So it has been a long journey.
Yeah, it's quite an evolution, and thanks for giving that explanation. It sounds like you never really once you kind of picked up that bug for building things and creating things from scratch. You really haven't lost it, because it's been quite a few years now that you've been pursuing different projects like this.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
all right, so yeah, let's talk a little bit more. You mentioned sort of the beginnings of Comunidad 365. It was originally, I'm pretty sure I've known you the whole time that since you founded it, and it was Comunidad CRM at first, and it was really it started off as a forum, and it has evolved, and I've been watching it evolve. And it's funny, I remember talking to you, just kind of periodically in those first couple of years,
Yes.
right? And every time we talk, you'd have a new number for how many
Yeah.
people had joined the
Yeah.
community, and sort of how much usage it was getting. And it was clear right from the start, from my perspective on the outside, that there really was a need, or is a need. It's from my perspective. I'm always amazed when I go to conferences that are not even in the U.S. or outside outside the U.S. that so many of the people who are sort of professionals in the space, I mean, they all speak English, who go to these events. Now it's not, but it's sort of, so then you sort of, first it amazed me, and I am always impressed by everyone who speaks English so well, but there's also clearly a need, as you've shown, and there are other language specific forums out there, but for people who want to do business, do technology type based work in the language that they prefer. That's a different language. So in your case, Spanish, and I think it really shows the strength of that preference, and it seems to really foster its own community. Is there more to it with the language element of it? Are there people who really only work with Dynamics in Spanish, for example?
I
And I hope
don't
that's not
think
a stupid
so.
question. I hope that's not a
It's
stupid
not only,
question.
no. It isn't. Actually, Jason, it's it's very nice to so we can reflection it on that, because I think it's not only a matter of language. It is in part because, for instance, when you deliver courses, there are so much materials and courses and videos all around, almost in about any topic from the dynamics field I'm speaking about, no?
Mm-hmm.
But it's completely different that from making actual connection with courses that are delivered on your same language
Mm.
by your peers, but by people that maybe it's on your same country, or maybe it's on the same region, or have some voice tone that sounds to you. So that's really connects a lot more, and you make sure that you don't lose you know anything from the training, because when someone that doesn't have, as in my case, English as the first language, you know it maybe there are parts that you missed, or maybe some comments, or some jargon that you miss.
Right.
Okay, but also you have to pay more attention, because it's not your native language, so you have to pay more attention. So I think it's both things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of content, and being able to actually capture it all from the training. And on the other side, it's connecting with your peers. It's connected with people that is on the same region, and speak the same language that you.
That makes sense. Are there are there are there things that you see, maybe because you said you've worked across various Latin American countries and the Caribbean?
Yes.
Are there things you see between countries, since you work with people from so many places, about how they approach the use of CRM that might be worth noting?
Uh, it actually, I think it depends more on the project, and on about the users that you have in front of you, than on actually the different countries. I had
Okay.
a pleasure to implement it in different in different countries, and see different cultures, and contact with a lot of people. But I think that question and that challenges are most of regarding to the project, and the users, and why they are using it, because
Mm-hmm.
some projects and some users are very very receptive, and are waiting for you like a hero, because maybe they don't have, yeah, they don't have any place to track their cases, and I'm speaking about big companies. Actually, I'm not speaking about small companies. I'm speaking about big companies that maybe they only use Outlook, and they don't keep track of any of their cases, or at the most they have some Excel spreadsheet. So they are waiting for you, and you are like a hero for them. And on the other side, maybe you have a sales a sales implementation, and you have all sales people saying, okay, this guy is going to control me. I don't like it. So I think, and they then realize that it's something that is going to help them to sell more. But you have to convince them about that, and maybe it's not the best start, the best start point. But I think it's related to the project.
And and with Comunidad 365, it really evolved from being a forum and a place where people connect to, like you started to talk about there. Well, you started to evolve it basically, into a site, a destination that has not only sort of forums and sort of a social element to it, but also a resource for training and education, and blogging as well. Am I missing anything there? Can you talk any more about sort of how that has evolved to where it is today?
No, I think that pretty much summarizes it.
Uh-huh.
It actually was born like a blog and a forum, because it was funny. But at the very very beginning, before it was actually called Comunidad CRM, and then Comunidad 365, we didn't have a forum. So yeah, I think you pretty much summarized it. But actually, it started at the very very beginning. It started as a community blog, where to join efforts between, we were 3, 4, 5 professionals in Latin America that were speaking at that time about Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And it was a way to join efforts and start to generate community content together and create a community. But actually, then we included a contact form, and the funny part of it is that that contact form was pointing to my personal email address, and people that started to arrive to our blog in that time started to write questions on the contact form, and that reached out to me, and I was answering, and I couldn't handle that, because
Yeah.
there are so many questions
Oh,
daily,
wow.
and I couldn't answer, to all the people, and I don't have all the answers either. So I then realized that we needed some kind of forum, and we started from strictly from scratch,
Uh-huh.
with zero threads to what we have today that are more than 4,000.
Excellent.
And yeah, and then we say, why don't we do some kind of webinars? And I started to do some webinars, and at that time, and then we started creating, more formal
Uh-huh.
programs for education. So today we have weekly, we have on average we have two webinars, or what we call Enfoco. Enfoco is
Mm-hmm.
now is a program that is dedicated to keep you updated on all the new stuff in Dynamics 365. That's free for everybody that join live, and we have some ISVs that sponsor us. And then we have, other kind of programs like videos, like master programs that are, instructor led programs for around 20 hours of training online. That is, pretty complete training, so you can really learn how to implement Dynamics. You can learn in order to achieve certification and that kind of stuff. So it evolved now in to have, a course directory that is now it's the focal point, as well as the forum. Both are, the more the most intensive part that people use our website. But today it's a lot about, delivering training.
Yeah, I can imagine, since there really wasn't a sort of central resource like that I can think of, at least. I might be forgetting something, but yeah, it's really grown to become. It has to be one of the biggest resources of Spanish language training for Dynamics 365 CRM out there. Considering how many experts you've been able to bring together to help sort of create
As
that content.
volunteers, you
And
mean?
yeah, no, I mean whoever's the people who are doing the educational content.
Oh yeah. Well, as volunteers, in terms of speakers and that kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff, it should be around more than 300 people.
Wow.
That makes that possible. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I think I do recall. I mean, there had been the blog you were talking about that sort of this evolved out of it was you and several other CRM MVPs, right? Who had been sort of all blogging together. And is that what it came out of? I forget the name of that old blog now, but
Yeah, it was. We started like a blog. It was called a blog, the Dynamics CRM.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was something like that. But that was pretty old. That was 2011, and that way that was, completely previous platform.
Okay.
And it was a nice start. Then it migrated to a new idea with forum and that kind of stuff. That was Comunidad CRM, and now, it's Comunidad 365, because
Yeah, yeah.
Microsoft changed the name, so we also changed it. And I'm very happy you mentioned about being a central resource today, and I'm very happy for that. I actually, today receive emails both from Microsoft people, but also from people, that Microsoft point us to, and
Yeah.
that's great. That's really great.
Yeah, that has to feel good. I mean, there's such a demand for. I mean, I certainly can appreciate the need for developing and the value of developing a lot of content, and so that's. I mean, when your content has value, if people are going to it, and you probably know sort of what's the most interesting, like what people are putting the most interest into these days. What would you say that your site visitors are most interested in learning about right now?
Well, there's so much new stuff in
Yeah,
Dynamics 365, that today people is paying more and more attention on what's actually new in 365. Remember that, I'm an MVP, and I must and I want to be updated all the time, not only in what was just released, but also in what's coming.
mm-hmm.
So, in that terms, I'm always seeking new stuff. But remember that most of the users, actually, most of the customers, most of them are maybe on previous versions. Are on 2016 or 2015, or some of them are still on 2011. So they actually have one in one moment they say, okay, I want to take a look of what's coming, on what's new, and need some kind of information on what they can take advantage from their business. And when they Google it or they Bing it or whatever. Uh, Most of them comes to our website if they do their search in Spanish, for instance, and and
Sure.
and came across a course or some forum thread or whatever that answers their question. And we have some key materials that are free for everybody in our website. And they watch those courses, for instance, and they can realize what's new and what they can take advantage. And that's something that I'm more seeing that they are most interested today. That is okay, how they can migrate from their previous version and what they actually can take advantage from the new stuff. And then you have most of us that are professionals on that field. Let's say MVPs, let's say partners or potential new MVPs that are seeking to all the new stuff. But
Right.
those are less people than those who are looking at what's actually 365.
So it's trying to, you have customers who are really trying to keep up almost, and then you have partners and MVPs. MVPs who
Yeah.
kind of know the most and even know sort of a little more about what's coming, partners who don't know quite as much, and then you have customers who are much less, it seems maybe much less likely to have that kind of visibility.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, and they maybe join one of our master trainings because they realize that they need actually to start learning from scratch almost. They have to learn. It's so much new stuff that they need to learn from how to create one instance, and how to make use of the new process designer and all that kind of stuff. So they join a complete training that help them keep it up and keep updated to the new version.
how has Microsoft been with sort of keeping um, countries in Latin America, um, getting them access to the latest cloud releases? Do you get localization fairly quickly?
On localization in what terms? Sorry, Jason.
Oh, like the Dynamics 365, like the version 9 release. Does it get localized and turned around kind of at the same time as the
Okay. You mean from the product side?
yeah, from the product side?
Okay, I think they are doing pretty well on that.
Hmm.
Yeah, from the localization standpoint, Dynamics looks good. Of course, there are some translations that you know need some improvement.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm very happy to see that once they ship a new version, it's already localized.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there are, of course, some add-ons or some exceptional parts that maybe is not ready yet, or some stuff on the preview, but they are doing pretty well. What I would like most to have, it's not actually more stuff translated, but it's the actual previews. Some previews are only available for US, and that's something that I would really encourage Microsoft to take a look. So there are so much people here that wants to maybe try, email the new email tracking, where you can track and know if your customer has opened your emails or not, and that's something that it's not available if you create a trial from South America versus if you create a trial from the US.
I see. Yeah, I can certainly understand that. And I was just talking with another CRM MVP, Leon Tribe, from from Australia, and we were talking a lot about competition, and he, sort of the competitive landscape for CRM in his country anyway. So maybe I could pose the same question to you. Can you talk at all about sort of the competitive landscape that you hear about, either that maybe you're seeing personally, or that people on the Comunidad 365 site, or do they ever talk about that? Do you ever get a sense of what partners are dealing with, or is that kind of off topic for the site?
You mean competition between partners?
No, I'm sorry. I meant like competition with other CRM packages,
with
Salesforce
other
or
CRMs,
Oracle or anyone else.
Yeah, it happens all the time. It happened as well to me in my previous activity as a partner, as a Microsoft partner, where I had to compete maybe with other CRM systems, and it was it was hard. I think it depends much more on the customer and the project you are leading, but there was hard competition, maybe
still
because of
plenty of hard
price.
competition.
Yeah, because of price. Sometimes I lost some opportunities, but then if you compete on the same when you compete on the same level, for instance, let's put Microsoft with Salesforce and with Oracle. Okay, that's good. We feel much more comfortable. But the thing is, when your customer is comparing you with other platforms that are not so world class, and they look at the prices, that turns a bit difficult.
Do you see that on your site now? Do you ever get, I don't know, power users or prospective, like people who say we're evaluating Dynamics 365 and we're also evaluating, I don't know, something else, and people sort of asking those kinds of questions?
Not so much, because they know that our user group, our community is focused on Dynamics and not in other platforms. But they come to us to ask, if this or that can be done with Dynamics, because they are making some kind of RFP or whatever, and need some answers in order if that's possible or not with Dynamics. And in that case, it's not so frequent in terms of how Dynamics compete with this other solution.
Okay, that makes sense. But I'd have to think it's Microsoft themselves and partners who work in the countries where your users are, where your site members are, have got to really be happy that this resource exists. Because I mean, if you're, to my mind, if you're researching CRMs and you come across this nice, rich Spanish language, community all focused on this product, it's got to give you a good feeling if you're a prospective buyer that there's lots of happy, healthy users out there. In your language. So
that's part of the dynamic of a user group, actually. So and that's why we also were able to organize some local events as well.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, so to connect people not only in an online environment, most of what we do today keeps being online, but also to connect in person, and potential users, potential customers that are evaluating the platform can attend one of these events and actually, speak with their peers, speak with actual users on how they are using the platform, how they are taking advantage of it, what are their strengths, and how was their projects and that kind of stuff. Also, that's why we also love a lot, the what we call the user showcase, where users can show their project and how was their implementation and how they are using the product,
Mm-hmm.
so to actually inspire others and actually, show the different manners where you can implement and you can fine tune and tailor dynamics for your business.
Yeah, so that I mean that seems like a big step to move from the digital space to organizing in person events. But you made it work, huh?
Yeah, we made it. It was that was pretty well in 2016 that we still had Silvana with us, and she took care of all that organizations. Let me tell you that it's very hard to organize and coordinate that and
Oh, sure.
remotely and with Microsoft people and with users. Well, it's too much work. But we are actually thinking of, for next year to relaunch that program, and maybe in a more dynamic way and a more organic way. That is some kind of masterminds, where actual users can get together on maybe actual on actual, users facilities, and we don't need
Okay.
maybe, to um, hire a hotel or have or coordinate with Microsoft and that kind of stuff. So to make it easier, maybe if it's not 30 or 40 people, maybe it's 10 people, but they get really get value from that meeting, from that kind of event. So that's something that we are thinking for 2018 to relaunch, because we think it's an important part as well of being part of a community, not only in the online space, but also moving that to something more local and more with people that is very near to you.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Are there any other um, sort of goals or plans that you can talk about for 2018 that might change
Oof.
something?
How much time do we have?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Well, we are pretty passionate on what we are doing here, and have a passionate team, and are, seeking, and the best of all of this is that, you have to continue educating all the time, because you have new and new and new stuff every day. So we are going to concentrate more on training programs,
Mm-hmm.
uh, on having, every week something new for you, and also having, complete programs on labs on some functionalities, master trainings that help people to get the certification. These kind of masterminds that I'm talking about. We are also thinking about some kind of podcasting as well, you know, and also some boot camps that we have already prepared, so to deliver workshops,
Yeah, yeah.
local from cities, and take what the master programs, this year was great. Was this was in 2017 was the year of the Master 365 program, because it was complete training. It was 20 hours or more
Oh,
of
okay.
training,
Online?
but online. But he also had, in every class, they had 1 hour of free mentoring. Okay,
Okay.
so people can ask any instructor. I also had the opportunity to instruct a couple of them, and you can ask me anything. okay, about your dynamics, so it's really great because it's not only help people to get on track, get a training, get the formal part of the training, but also be able to actually guide them through a solution for their
Sure.
current challenges that they have.
And everyone must be coming from a very different starting point when they join a course like
Yeah,
that. So you must get very, very different questions from different class
yeah, it's a
students.
variety. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's more it's very it's very wide, and I love that, and I'm very happy to say that I think that even me and the other instructors were able to answer I guess any of all the questions, so it was really great experience, and we want to take that in the form of boot camps, to some cities, and be able to deliver that
Oh yeah.
training in person. So that's the kind of stuff that we can see, that we can expect to see next year. And we are also always, seeking at the sponsors. We have, the privilege to have sponsored by Kingsway Soft, by Resco, North, and other ISVs, and we are looking always to great ISV solutions,
Mm-hmm.
that to take to our audience, so they really want so they can learn about solutions that help them, make their life easier, achieve some functionality that they need to achieve, and at the same time they are promoting their solution. They are helping us to deliver more and more training programs. So that's something that we work a lot.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that with like even with the new release that's rolling out now, version 9. I mean, it's really getting to a point. I mean, the capabilities of the solution just keep expanding, and it's really gotten to the point where no one can really know everything in depth for themselves. It seems like really, if you're going to work with 365, you're going to be a specialist to more of an extent than you were in the past if you want to do services. I mean, the various
Yeah,
elements of service versus sales versus take Adobe integration
yeah.
points for example. That alone is I suppose a huge
No,
area now.
that's huge.
Um,
Yeah.
so really take your pick. I mean, but there's just so much to learn, and the different insights product, the different like insights solutions, if you want to call them that. The SMB product that's rolling out. I mean, it just seems endless. Where
Yeah.
you could spend your time learning at this point, depending on who you are and what your company's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I spend a lot of my time, my actual time learning. And what I also like it most, one of the things that I enjoy a lot from the community is like there's no better way to learn something that when you need or want to teach on that.
Oh
So
yeah. Yep.
yeah, so I use it as an excuse actually, to learn myself. So for instance, I deliver a training on that was I guess June this year. A master training program on how to implement Dynamics CRM, Dynamics 365. Sorry, and then I made it recently in November, and I almost had to build it all almost from scratch,
You had to
because there
rebuild
was
you
a
had to rebuild the materials.
new version, new materials, new captures, everything was new experience, even creating the trial, so that was crazy, and the best way I learned from B9 was actually preparing the training and enjoying delivering it. So that's something that is great from being an MVP and being part of the community that is delivering trainings every week.
Um, yeah, I see you have another. You have an implementation and administration masterclass coming up in. Oh, maybe that was
Yeah,
one for
that
November that
was actually
you just held it, right?
yeah, that was actually the last one. Yeah, I just completed, and yeah, I have the honor uh to lead that training. Yeah, it
Awesome.
was 20 hours of training.
And then I'm just looking on the site, and there's December events coming up. I love how you've evolved the look and feel of the site too. I think the navigation's really sharpened up and sort of changed as your focus and as the material has changed on the site, which is really awesome.
Thank you.
So, and this isn't, and sorry to interrupt. The Comunidad 365 isn't even all you do. You were telling me that you still are able to find time to work on other kinds of work, other kinds of projects at the same time, huh?
Oh, really? Yes. Yeah, and that's pretty hard because I love and I'm very passionate about the community stuff. But despite we have memberships and we have paid courses and that kind of stuff that and sponsors that help us, fund ourselves, I can't live on that, and I also enjoy a lot working on projects, because
Sure.
and they actually give you the real experience that you can share with your audience as well. So I keep working on projects. Fortunately, I'm in a position right now that I choose the projects I want to work on, but. But I still do a lot of implementation on myself, and that's half of my time or even more sometimes, that's working on actual projects, and that's something that I like it. I like it a lot, but of course you some challenges when trying to balance your time, because you are always tempted to help somebody else in the community or launch a new program that you see is going to work and is going to be funny and people will learn a lot, and at the same time you have to to deliver something on production next week, so you have to make that trade-offs all the time.
Yeah, it certainly will keep you sharp though, which has got to be useful too. Boy, well, that's really cool to hear. Because I mean, the site that given how far the site's come, it's really something to hear that you're able to sort of still do a range of different things with yourself. So excellent.
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I keep moving all the time.
Every time I talk to you, I wait to hear like maybe you have another brand new,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned before, CRM Gamify did some awesome stuff. I remember, seeing that product and thinking that you were really putting some interesting things together, and the hurrah, is that right? After it.
Yeah, hurrah, yes.
Yeah, that was really cool too, and this one really looks great, and the progress obviously is really big. So, I would just appreciate you taking the time to join me today and talk a little bit about what you've been up to and how this is all how the Comunidad has really developed over the last few years here. Anything else you wanted to mention before we start to wrap up?
No, just thank you, Jason, and thank you, Adam, as well. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, with your great audience. You are, I saw you in action. I remember myself being such, aside from you and
running around an event.
You were live typing in a conference. So you do really great stuff, and I follow you and all of your stuff, and I think that everybody that is involved in the Dynamics space should look at your site as the site to get informed, get updating with all the news in Dynamics. So I encourage everybody to keep an eye always on your website. And I thank you for having me, and always a pleasure whenever you want.
Yeah, likewise. A pleasure is mine, and I hope I'll see you again soon at the next big event somewhere.
Yeah, hopefully next year. Let's meet some part of the globe.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent,
right.
Jason.
Yeah, thank you. All right. This has been the MSDW Podcast. My thanks to Pablo Peralta for taking the time to speak with me today. You can reach me by email, jgumpert@msdynamicsworld.com. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World signing off.